Are you looking to buy a small, practical, good quality SUV? Well, you might want to check out this one. Here we're testing the latest Nissan Qashqai with the relatively new e-Power hybrid system. This is basically Nissan's hybrid technology. It works a bit different to a normal hybrid in that the petrol engine doesn't actually provide power directly to the wheels. It's only a generator that provides energy for the battery and for the electric motor. You could call it an electric vehicle because there's only one electric motor at the front powering the front wheels, and that's it. The petrol engine is only there to extend or provide range. I call it a range extender. I know some people don't like to call it a range extender, but it's not a normal hybrid, so it kind of needs a new term for it. Now, the Qashqai is quite a nice little car. I really like it. I like the way it drives. It feels good inside. Decent quality materials everywhere. It's got good space as well, rear seat space. And I think the features list is also pretty good for its market segment. For this video, I thought I'd compare the top-of-the-range Ti models in non-hybrid and hybrid form, just to see if that new e-Power technology is worth it. The non-hybrid version starts from around $47,000, whereas the e-Power starts from $51,590, excluding on-road costs for both. But the difference is $4,200 more for the e-Power technology. The next thing you'll probably want to know is fuel economy. So the normal version is rated at 6.1 litres per 100 kilometres, and the e-Power is rated at 5.2. So it's not a huge difference. It's not even 1 litre difference. But I have noticed in the real world, you can actually get closer to that official rating in the e-Power. So I think I was getting about 5.5 in the real world, whereas in the non-hybrid version, the last we tested, we got about 7.5 litres per 100. So you can definitely get better economy in the real world with the hybrid. From the outside though, they look pretty much identical. They both wear 19-inch alloy wheels. I really like these wheels. They're kind of like an aero theme to them with an extended lip around the edge. But yeah, they look pretty much identical. The only thing I do notice is the e-Power has a ground clearance rating of 175 millimeters compared with 193 in the non-hybrid. So if you are planning to go off-road and do some, you won't get far because they're both front-wheel drive. But if you are planning to do some, light off-roading to camping sites and so on, the e-Power is not as well suited compared with the non-hybrid. Let's get stuck into the powertrains. So in the non-hybrid, you have a 1.3 litre turbo petrol 4-cylinder engine producing 110 kilowatts and 250 newton meters. In the e-Power, you have a 1.5 litre turbo petrol 3-cylinder engine with a new technology Nissan calls variable compression ratio, which is very interesting. All petrol engines and diesel engines that I know of have a set compression ratio. And that's basically the pressure that's built up when the piston reaches top dead center and how much pressure is captured there before it ignites. So technically, if you have a high compression ratio, you're kind of producing more power for every drop of fuel that you're using. That's a generalized statement, but it's kind of how it works. But it does mean, or it can mean that it causes reliability problems if you have the compression ratio too high. But in this little Nissan, this engine produces 116 kilowatts, so that's 6 kilowatts more than the regular model, and the same 250 newton meters. It would be interesting to see this engine just powering the Qashqai alone, without the electric motor. That would be quite interesting. But with the e-Power, it's almost redundant how much power this engine produces, because you're not getting any of that. That's only to charge the battery and to provide energy which goes through to the electric motor. At the wheels, you have, well, it's not at the wheels, but going to the wheels, you have 140 kilowatts and 330 newton meters. And it drives exactly like an EV, so you're getting that pretty much instantly. A lot more torque, but if you have a look at the specs, it is a lot heavier. So the e-Power weighs 1,699 kilograms Tare versus 1,494 kilograms. That's a 205 kilogram weight difference. It's much heavier. They both feature a 55 litre petrol tank and run 95 RON minimum petrol. But if you look at the average fuel consumption, you get a theoretical range of 1,078 kilometers in the e-Power versus 902 kilometers in the non-hybrid version. So if you are looking to do some touring and you're not really planning to go off-road, if at all, you could still go on a dirt road or something like that. I think the e-Power is definitely worth considering. The only other big difference is the boot space is rated at 452 litres in the e-Power and 418 in the non-e-Power, but then that swaps when you fold down the rear seats. So it has 1,376 in the e-Power versus 1,513 in the non-hybrid version. Overall though, I think the Qashqai is a good little SUV. It feels good inside, it's got good quality materials, nice driving position, it handles well, and it goes quite well for its intended purpose and compared with its rivals. Would you go for the e-Power? I think it's an interesting technology. Sometimes car makers come up with innovative and inventive technologies. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. If you look at some of the French car makers, they like to try new things, and a lot of the time it doesn't work. In my opinion, it's just being different for the sake of being different. I don't think Nissan has done that with the e-Power. I think it's actually or genuinely trying to do something a bit new and a bit different. And as I said, it drives like an electric vehicle, so you still get the benefits of an electric vehicle. Instant power and torque, and it does run silently for most of the time. It's just when the battery starts to drop down, the petrol engine will start up and start charging that small battery. It's just a matter of if you want to spend that extra $4,200 on the e-Power. I think I would, just because it's interesting. I find the engine package with the electric motor quite interesting, and it feels better to drive because you've got that instant torque. They both got CVTs, or the e-Power doesn't use a gearbox at all kind of thing. It's just a straight through drive basically, or a reduction gear, whereas the normal non-hybrid version uses a CVT. So they're both, they don't have that nice stepped gear feeling, but I think overall I prefer to drive the e-Power. If I could pick between the two, I'd pick up the e-Power. Anyway, let's go out now and do the performance test and see what the e-Power goes like. I will include or crop in some footage of the non-hybrid at the end, so you can see the difference between the speedos doing 0 to 100. Just keep in mind the speedometers are inaccurate on purpose. True speed is taken with the V-Box, so the results at the end are from the V-Box, regardless of what the needles actually look like they're doing.